Now, let's do a harmonic minor.
Right. And maybe you want to explain to them what the difference is. No.
Oh, yeah, the harmonic, all I'm doing is a demonstration right now.
Oh, okay.
But the difference will be written.
Okay. Can you dub audio on this video later or not really?
No.
Okay.
We got what we got.
Okay, great.
Unfortunately.
No, that's very fortunate. Okay, so what's the next one? Okay, so now we're going to consider the harmonic minor scale. Harmonic minor scale, which is the same basically as a natural minor, except it has a major 7, right?
Major 7.
Right, okay. Very exotic sounding scale. Yes.
Very exotic sounding.
Yes.
But it's very good for soloing, also for harmonizing. So what you want to do is learn that scale. And you can do that scale anywhere. Once you follow this fingering, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3. Once you follow that fingering, you can do that scale anywhere on the board, on the fingerboard.
Excellent.
Right?
So it's a movable pattern, sort of like, right?
Movable pattern.
Okay.
Right.
That's great.
So that's the one you learn. A, B, C, D, F, G, and A to finish the scale. So that's the natural minor. Harmonic minor.
Now, Wayne, I have a question for you. Now, that's the harmonic minor, right?
That's
and you
harmonic
play.
minor.
Okay, what's the natural minor?
Natural minor. Natural minor. No sharps, no flats.
Okay.
Now, it's the same thing that you learned as a child. A, B, C, D, F, G, right?
Right.
As a child, you learned your alphabet. So, now, it has no sharps, no flat in A, because A
is the relative minor of C.
Is relative minor of C.
Right.
Okay. So, without getting into a lot of theory,
Right.
this is what you'll be playing most. Now, there's one last minor scale that you should know, and that is the melodic minor.
Ah.
Okay?
Is that the one that descends differently than it ascends?
That's right. It ascends as a natural minor.
Uh-huh.
No, excuse me. It descends as a natural minor. It ascends with a raised 6th and a raised 7th.
Ah.
Okay? So, the first 3 are the same.
That's pretty.
Right?
Yeah.
Now descend.
What a weird convention. It would ascend one way and it's interesting that it doesn't descend the same way that it ascends.
It's more common in classical music. You probably won't find a lot of it in jazz. You won't find a lot of it in rock. You won't find a lot of it in fusion. But you will find a lot of it if you play classical music.
Also, too, Wayne, isn't it generally true that the scales themselves just make great dexterity exercises? So regardless of where you might use them, they're useful just to develop technique, would you say?
Absolutely, Robert.
Okay.
It's great for the hands.
Okay.
Great for learning your fingerboard. And I say fingerboard rather than fretboard because even though it does have a fret,
this is very important, folks.
even though it does have a fret, you're not going to always be looking at that fret.
Correct.
Right?
So what you're basically saying then is that one should the frets, what you're saying is the frets are basically just there to produce a note. They're not there to tell you where you are. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's just basically that.
So your hand kind of tells you where you are?
Yeah, your hand pretty much tells you where you are. Also, you have what is called muscle memory. Once you start learning this, instrument, you'll be able to know where you are without looking for it. One of the things that you'll have to do is learn to read if you want a long career.
Right.
I mean, it's just something that has to happen.
Well, doesn't that make perfect sense, Wayne? Because there are situations where you're not going to have a lot of time to get up on the music or learn it, so you have to be able to read it in order to. Right.
Not only in business, in music too. So you go into a studio, they book 3 hours, and they have to teach you a tune which you continually can't, because you don't have good musical memory. You can't learn.
Right.
The way to do it is to learn to read, and then they don't have to teach you anything. You sit down and read the part.
Right. Very good.
And then you're out of there an hour and a half.
Terrific.
On to the next tune. All right? And that's the way to do it. That's the way you do it, right?
Well, Wayne, I sure would appreciate it if you'd also let your students know how this ability has served you by way of some of the people you've had the great fortune to perform with.
Well, let's put it this way. With my audition, when I worked with Aretha Franklin, was the rehearsal before going into Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
She had never heard me before then.
You had one rehearsal before hitting Carnegie Hall?
Rehearsal.
Wow. So that's the importance of reading right there, right?
There you go.
Okay.
And she changes her book every night. So the rehearsal...
So there's no memorizing parts.
Well, here's the thing. Even though we did rehearse, we weren't able to play every piece that she was going to do in her concerts. She was there for a week. So you had to read. You had to not only know a chord chart, but you had to be able to read the notes on the page.
Right.
We'll get into reading a little bit later. We'll start teaching you.
Terrific.
Bass clef, which is an F clef. And we'll show you how it points to itself, how it actually names itself on the staff.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Not only should you learn to read the F clef or the bass clef, learn to read the tenor clef, learn to read the treble clef. Treble clef is a G clef. Tenor clef is a C clef. Just learn to read those.